Hello, hello. This is Lily Sisombat. Happy to see you again today. I'm going to talk about how we organize a virtual workshop with people who don't want to be in the workshop and when the internet is unstable. So this is part one of two videos. This one is only going to address technical issues. And then the second one is really how do we connect with people, especially if they have been volunteered to be in the meeting and they don't know what you're going to talk about, how we build a container for trust. So let's start with this first part, which is all about how do we manage a virtual meeting, a virtual workshop when not everything is on your side. So let me share with you the PowerPoint I've prepared for you, and here we are. Share. Okay, so first part of the session of the video is really to address issue of connectivity. How long should the workshop be when you are in virtual environment? Can they sustain a 7-hour workshop, or do you have to reduce to 1 hour or less? So most of the time you are going to be either in the configuration B, which is online seminar, where everyone is connecting from their laptop or from their home, from wherever they are. The second configuration that happens more and more is that you are the only one, or the lecturers or the speakers are going to connect online, but they are all sitting in the room. So it's very different configuration, and you really need to think about how do you make sure that participation is happening. Maybe we need a facilitator in the room. So my preference and the experience I have is that we can go, it's good, it's comfortable for 3 to 4 hours, and you can be in break time there. And then it's better for us, I mean, with all the tools that Zoom or WebEx or Teams offer, that they connect from their desk and from their laptop, because then you can do breakout rooms. We're going to see that later on. When they're in one room, it's very difficult to manage and to create something on the side unless you have a facilitator in the room. And if all the people, all the stakeholders are connected through their laptop, I prefer that to see them in one screen. So one screen, if you are on Zoom, it's 25 people, 5 by 5, and you can see the facial expressions, the body language is much better for engagement. Of course, you can go longer. I've attended training and workshops that last 7 hours, but you have to really be creative on how you keep the work going and interaction. So tip number one, a virtual workshop is still a workshop. So you have to prepare and determine why you want to do that. What is it that you want to get out of it? Who should be at the table? Who are the stakeholders who are an influence on the topic you want to address? And then what are the intermediate outcome? And then all the logistics. And the logistics, as compared to other workshops that you do face-to-face, it's really intense. And you have to be much more intentional about how you run the 2, 3, 4 hours meeting that you're going to have online. I'm going to insist on who should attend, because you have little influence on who is going to show up. If you work with government like I do, we have one counterpart, and then they will be the one disseminating the information to the people who should attend. And maybe the person who is invited will not show up, and they will send someone from that team to come. And most of the time, these people don't know what is the topic of the workshop. I mean, even in the physical workshop, it happens as well. So making sure that the right people attend the workshop is really, really important. And when you're in a physical workshop, you can mostly improvise. You have more time. You can correct things during the break or during lunchtime. You can be much more responsive to how the room is reacting and the needs of the room. But on a virtual workshop, because it's so short, let's say 2 hours or even 4 hours, you really have to script so that you can go over all the topics you want to go. It's almost like you're writing a video story. What is it that you're going to do? Who is coming in? What are the tools for facilitation that you are going to use for them to be much more participative? I will do a break every hour or every 1 hour and a half for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If it's lunchtime, then allow for more time for that. And then don't do it alone. You really need a co-facilitator, because during the whole session, you are going to look at the camera. You're not looking at the people. Here, I'm looking at my screen, and I can see how they react. But most of the time you can't. You want to get engaged, and to be engaged, you have to look into the camera, and it's really tiring. The second thing is that so often you have the chat space that goes on. People ask questions, they make comments. So you need someone to monitor the chat space, I call that. And then you have all the technical issues that may happen. You cannot do the breakout rooms, people are disconnecting, they cannot connect. So it's at least, I would say, a minimum of 3 people to run a virtual workshop with 20, 25 people to co-facilitate, to read the chat, and then to troubleshoot all the technical issues. And then when you do the agenda, something that is less demanding, I would say that when you're in physical presence, is to plan for participatory activities and see when do they engage. So this is an example of an agenda that I do for myself. Doesn't mean that it works, but you will see on the left side, I call my session, and as I told you, I try to do blocks of 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. So during that 1 hour and 1 hour and a half, what is it that I'm doing? So I'm putting the time, the run time. What's the topic? What are the activities I'm going to do? What's the duration of that session? What's the objective of that session? And then I have a last column, which is really about the engagement that I'm going to plan to do with my stakeholders. Tip number 2, prepare for the worst. You just have to assume that things will go wrong, that people will connect or late, or that they don't have the internet, or that whoever. I mean, just assume that things will just go wrong, And so I think the worst is that you are here, you're connecting on time, and sometimes you're connecting half an hour before, but the people don't come on, on time. They will come, you will have 1, you may have 2 or 3. The connection is not done, the sound is not there, the internet doesn't work. Maybe in the one room, their meeting room, it's working better, but they're not in that room. So they are moving from one room to the room that works better. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you're the only one who is connected, or your colleagues are connecting from elsewhere. And then all the participants are in one room, and there is nobody to facilitate that engagement, or even to troubleshoot the internet connection, or how to, the Zoom or Teams or WebEx connection. So there is only one solution for that, is that you have to prepare. You have to do, several connection tests. You need to have someone on their side to do the technical troubleshooting. They connect before, 1 hour before, whatever, to make it work, so that you can start at the top of the hour. So practice, 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 do the connection test. And sometimes if you have the budget, it's better to rent a space where there is a stable connection and all the stuff to make things happen. So what will go wrong with participants? So this is on the tech side, because we're going to have another video for all the engagement and keeping them interested in what we're saying, is that basic stuff. They don't know how to mute, they don't know how to unmute, they don't know how to access the interpretation, they come late, they close their camera and they do something else. I mean, I've attended meetings where they just connect to show that they're connected, but then you call them or whatever, and there is no answer because they're doing something else, right? So again, even for the participants, we have to organize test session the week before, a few days before. Tip number 3, use a platform that they know. Don't innovate, don't do something different. So if they are using Zoom, go on Zoom. If they use whatever, WhatsApp, maybe we have to use WhatsApp, because that's it's going to save you a lot of time instead of getting them used to new system. For workshops, if you go on the tutorials that WebEx or Teams or Zoom there's a lot of functions in this video conferencing platform. But with the people I work, the stakeholders I'm interacting with, I only need 3 things. First, know how to share a document, know how to share a screen, what's the difference, know how to share the sound. Sometimes I just want to put music for them to do some personal work. So how do you put the sound only? Or if you show video, how do you make sure that the video comes with sound? You don't want to, like, you know, spend 5 minutes trying to scramble and understand how to do that while you have 25 people who are connected and waiting for you. And then how to do breakout rooms. This is important if they are connecting from their laptop. Of course, if they are in one room and you're the only one, connecting from elsewhere will not work. So that's the 3 basic stuff. And you can do that on WebEx, on Teams, on Zoom. It's accessible to all 3 of them. So the experience working in fragile and conflict affected states is that Zoom seems to be working better. It uses less internet. People are much more used to do that. I think that for me, Teams I had mixed experience. I've sent people in breakout rooms and then they were just lost in cyberspace. So something to improve here, but all 3 are quite okay. Tip 4, I've done already a video, so you can go and look at the video. It's how to look good on Zoom, be really professional, dress up, you know, stand up, because people are going to look if you're ready to engage with them, you know, if you're professional or not. So don't sit on your couch running a workshop that won't work. Camera position, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking you into your eyes. I'm not looking at the screen, which is just down here. So camera position, very important. The lights, so give space to yourself. Don't be too close like this or too far like this, okay? So give space here. I found that about a meter and a half is a good size to position myself. And then the lights, I've taught that several times. Don't sit with the window at your back because we don't see your face. We see the light that comes at the back. What I have here on my desk is I have 2 lamps here, really like regular lamps. And then at the back, I'm lighting it up. So nothing professional here. I'm just picking up some from the home what I found to make it better for engagement. And then tips number 5, last one, practice, 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 and then test, test, test. That's it for today. So stay connected. A second video is coming on how do you build a container for people to feel safe to engage and be interested in what you want to share with them. Thank you so much for joining me today. I see you next week. Bye.